Thank you very much for organizing today's event. It's very nice to have everyone here today. From a business's point of view, we need, so many of our businesses move and partner with people all over the world, whether it's our companies themselves or our vendors or our customer companies. We need a system. And it's been quite a journey that we've been on for the last 20 years since the 1995 directive. The current state of negotiations has been, I think, fair to say, it's been a difficult process. But I'd say for good reasons, which is the teams really have understood each other's legal frameworks and systems and issues at a much more fine level of detail, and learned a greater appreciation for how the systems work and not just say, oh, okay, kind of good enough. And so I think we've got a much stronger foundation built by these teams than we've ever had before. I also think the United States, it was mentioned, there's different systems, but I don't think that privacy is enshrined as a fundamental right in the United States, and there's not quite an analogous right in the United States, but there's similar things. And privacy is certainly a core part of the American culture as well. So it's not that we have a gap of cultures here. So we're aligned culturally, we're aligned better from a legal point of view, and we know that we need these systems not just for companies like Microsoft, and we've got lots of lawyers, we can figure out most any complicated regulatory scheme, but this gives a system that is easy to use for smaller companies, European companies that want to partner. They don't have to have the army of lawyers and data protection compliance officials to kind of work through as many things. So this is a cutting red tape initiative that from a business point of view is hugely important. Now, so far there was a brief mention of Edward Snowden, but I think that we have to recognize that the Snowden disclosures from 3 years ago have had a dramatic effect on a range of issues here. And when the Snowden disclosures came out, there was a great deal of uncertainty as to what was happening. But I remember the White House came out with a statement to reassure Americans, don't worry, we only spy on foreigners. Now, 4.5% of the world's population lives in the United States, so that gave comfort to 4.5% of the world's population, if they believe them. And certainly to Europeans, that was a deeply disturbing set of comments. And the week after the Snowden disclosures, I initiated a lawsuit against the United States government in the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court over our right as a company to be able to disclose how many of these secret orders that Microsoft was receiving from the NSA and from the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. And a few months later, I had the opportunity to talk to President Obama about this general situation and explain, from our point of view, the intelligence community wasn't going to be able to reform itself. And it required the president to get involved because the intelligence community, they've got this very important mission, which is to keep people safe. And they operate within the boundaries set by political leaders. And unless the political leaders look at it and devote time, the system's not going to change. And the president heard from others, and he did give this very important, he undertook to do something about it and give this very important speech in January of 2014, where he announced Presidential Policy Directive 28 and a number of steps, and he expressly talked about the need, that the United States does respect the privacy of our allies, people, and that privacy is a concern, and put that into the framework for our intelligence agencies. And the evening before that speech, we got a call from the Department of Justice saying that they would now be willing to settle that lawsuit that we filed. And the president, in fact, announced that we'd reached agreement. So we began, we were able to begin reporting transparently the number of requests that we received. And then we were able to get Congress to put that into statute with the USA Freedom Act. The United States Congress didn't pass much legislation, and generally the leadership of the House and Senate can block anything from happening, but in this one, Senator Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader, tried to block it, and Senate just overrode him. So there's broad support for these issues in the United States politically. And USA Freedom also did away with the bulk collection statute from the famous Patriot Act. So I think in the United States we do see progress. We do see a fundamental commitment to privacy, and in part because I think everyone realizes that we're so dependent upon the internet and things we do online. The amount of information about us is increasing, and it offers tremendous opportunities, but it requires careful, thoughtful regulation. Now, the Privacy Shield is a really important first step, or it's not the first step, but an important step in the process. It's not going to be the last step. We will continue to learn more. We're going to learn more about how our systems work. I think that if we can pick particular examples of where a negotiation among multi-stakeholder discussions can talk about how do we feel about, for cancer research, patients being able to essentially donate their scientific data. It's a very sensitive set of data, but most people who are cancer patients want to help other patients in the future if their scientific data about their treatment can be helpful in an aggregated form. And I think, but that's the kind of, it's a sensitive topic, but if you get the right group of people together around a table, you can have a discussion about that and come out with socially beneficial outcomes that protect human dignity and privacy, but allow us to get the benefit from our scientific capabilities. There's a number of companies here and commercial organizations. Companies need to come out and support the Privacy Shield as it gets adopted. I don't know, a few weeks ago, I blogged that Microsoft was supporting the Privacy Shield, and we committed to use the European DPAs as our resolution method for complaints from European consumers. And at the time, we thought that there was going to be several other companies coming out, and everybody's sort of waiting back. But the time is coming up where we need companies to look carefully at it. We're going to see the improved terms in the next week or so, I suppose. And hopefully we'll get this approved by the Article 31 committee this month, and we'll get a determination by the Commission next month. But I really do want to ask companies to look carefully at it and to look at coming forward supporting it. So with that, I think we'll turn to questions.